who won the Nobel Prize, was certainly as committed to activism as he was to scholarship during the Vietnam War. George Wald appeared at countless anti-war demonstrations around the country protesting the Vietnam War. George Wald was a hero to the Harvard students who took over a Harvard building in protest for the first time in the history of that university in 1969 to protest the war that Donald Trump was afraid to fight and afraid to protest. Donald Trump was a rich draft age kid who now at age 78 was just declared in perfect health by a military physician who gave him a physical last week. Donald Trump found a way for his health to be imperfect enough with alleged bone spurs that no longer show up in his physicals.
Before Donald Trump was sworn in and through the first few months of his presidency, I have been talking about the political ignorance and failings of big institutions, corporations, with CEOs attending his inauguration, the mainstream media pre-capitulating, and universities bending the knee to Donald Trump. We saw big institutions fall in line, thinking that Trump had won some huge mandate and had all this momentum behind him. We knew it was never true and would quickly come crumbling down. And that is exactly what has happened. In a big institution in Harvard University has delivered a huge legal blow to Donald Trump that was made worse for him by Barack Obama sticking the dagger in him with a post that led to a Donald Trump meltdown. We are going to get into it all and what it means for the rest of his presidency. I think this is a turning point moment. But before we do, if I could quickly ask you to leave a like this video. And if you haven't already and you enjoy our channel, to hit that subscribe button. It goes a long way. And it really does mean a lot to me. Now, before we can get into what President Obama said about Harvard's decision and Donald Trump's response, first, I want to get the context on all of this from Lawrence O'Donnell.
Donald Trump and his lawyers threatened Harvard, as they have already to other universities, that they would be cut off from any federal contributions to the important research, including life-saving research done at Harvard and other universities, unless Harvard simply, in effect, made Donald Trump the president of Harvard. Donald Trump demanded control over the admissions policy at Harvard University. Donald Trump demanded in writing control over all hiring at Harvard University, from professors to the maintenance staff, to cooks in the cafeteria, to the football coach. Every single job at Harvard University was to come under control of the President of the United States. And the President of the United States alone would decide who should or should not be hired at Harvard University, who should or should not be admitted to Harvard College. Imagine Donald Trump sitting there in the Oval Office deciding who should be admitted to a university, who should be admitted to Harvard Medical School or Harvard Law School or Harvard Divinity School or the Business School or the Dental School or all the other graduate schools. Donald Trump wanted to control all of that. His lawyers sent a letter to Harvard on Friday demanding all of that control and demanding absurdly and stupidly vague things like, quote, reducing the power held by students. They did not put in writing what that means. They also demanded, quote, reducing the power held by faculty. And again, a phrase that has no meaning. And Donald Trump and his lawyers demanded in writing the right for them to get rid of professors who Donald Trump has decided are, quote, more committed to activism than scholarship. Harvard won the Nobel Prize, was certainly as committed to activism as he was to scholarship during the Vietnam War. George Wald appeared at countless anti-war demonstrations around the country protesting the Vietnam War. George Wald was a hero to the Harvard students who took over a Harvard building in protest for the first time in the history of that university in 1969 to protest the war that Donald Trump was afraid to fight and afraid to protest. Donald Trump was a rich draft age kid who now at age 78 was just declared in perfect health by a military physician who gave him a physical last week. Donald Trump found a way for his health to be imperfect enough with alleged bone spurs that no longer show up in his physicals.
I have been saying this for a while now. I thought all of the big institutions in our country, I thought the CEO class, the mainstream media giant universities, they all read this wrong. Right on election night, it looked like Donald Trump had won a pretty significant mandate. But as votes continued to come in and the dust settled, and Donald Trump actually made clear he was committing to an agenda that everyone knew would be terrible for the country, the momentum had shifted. We saw this in the first week of his administration when so many Democrats seemed willing to work with Donald Trump, willing to confirm his cabinet nominees, and we said, why are you doing this? This is the time to fight back. The momentum is swinging towards the Democrats, and swing it has. Donald Trump has never been more unpopular than right now. And it's the reason we are finally seeing these big institutions, not because of their own courage, but because they're kind of reading the political moment turn against Donald Trump. That is exactly what Harvard did. And President Obama made a post about it that led to a Trump meltdown. So let's take a look at what he had to say. President Obama wrote, Harvard has set an example for other higher ed institutions, rejecting an unlawful and ham-handed attempt to stifle academic freedom while taking concrete steps to make sure all students at Harvard can benefit from an environment of intellectual inquiry, rigorous debate, and mutual respect. Let's hope other institutions follow suit. Let's hope my own institution, Columbia, has not followed suit. They bent the knee to Donald Trump. They allowed him to walk all over him to essentially take control of the college that I am attending. Thank God I'm a senior, and we're wrapping this thing up. Shooting right now from the dorm room, of course, if you did not already know. But this is a turning point moment. If we see all of these institutions band together, these universities say we will not be bullied. Corporations and media outlets come together to say, no, you can't just sue us to intimidate us if you want. We are all in this together. We are a united front. It makes it a lot more difficult for Donald Trump to exercise his power, and the greatest power that he has is not the imposition of his legal threats. It is not really even the presidency, it is fear. The fear he has tried to instill, and when that goes away, he loses all of his power very quickly, and he's starting to lose that power. And we see it with the threat he's making on Truth Social, right here. Trump wrote perhaps Harvard should lose its tax-exempt status and be taxed as a political entity if it keeps pushing political, ideological, and terrorist-inspired supporting sickness. Remember, tax-exempt status is totally contingent on acting in the public interest. Now, do I think that universities with tens of billions of dollars in endowments should be paying taxes on those, or at least making it cheaper, if not completely free, for their students to attend while supporting more research? Yes, but do I view that and think that? Because I don't like Harvard said something mean to me. In the case of Donald Trump. No, this is clearly a threat from Donald Trump. What he's saying, he doesn't actually believe. He just wants to intimidate them, but he's totally freaking out. He realizes that this is a turning point moment, that big institutions are finally going to come out against him, that this idea, this disillusionment with the actual results of the election is going away. Donald Trump did not win some sweeping mandate. This is not some cultural moment in which people are getting behind MAGA like we have never seen before. People were upset about prices, and Donald Trump has made them more expensive. It's time to capitalize on that. Now it's the same thing with Elon. This is not some champion of the future, some super genius coming to fix our government. No, he's a crook. And Rachel Maddow broke down the response to that moronic criminality that people are finally seeing. Some blowback that Elon's getting across the country.
Trump fired the rangers at this manatee refuge. But now, quote, after public outcry and 2 court orders, the rangers are back on the job. This is such a stupid way to run a government, right? Random individual disasters manage somehow to get enough attention to often get protested, and then the Trump people find they can't really defend them, and so those things then get partially restored or maybe not really restored, but they say they'll fix them and they hope people stop complaining. But meanwhile, while people are scrambling to try to fix that mistake they made, these guys are destroying 10, 100, 1,000, 10,000 other things all the time. It is a terrible, absolutely ridiculous way to run a government, especially under the name of efficiency, right? I mean, how can it be that the reason we still have people on the job today storing and transporting our nuclear weapons is not because Donald Trump didn't fire them, because he did, but only because, just our luck, the right people found out that he had fired them and made a big enough ruckus about it in time so some of them could be hired back. That is the reason we now have people on the job keeping our nuclear weapons from prematurely exploding. That's the system now. That's how we're running it. And it's incredibly stupid. But the big problem with that being our system right now is that for some problems, the people who are most affected and most hurt by it are the people who can least make a ruckus. The people who have the least opportunity to see what's wrong, complain about it in a way that is big enough that it's going to get noticed and their complaints are going to be taken seriously. And so somebody's going to do something about it and maybe it'll get reversed. The people who are going to be hurt the most grievously are the people who are least capable of raising a ruckus about what's being done to them. And so here we are. Headline, Washington Post. Social Security website keeps crashing as DOGE demands cuts to IT staff. Retirees and disabled people are facing chronic website outages and other access problems as they attempt to log into their online Social Security accounts. The website has crashed repeatedly in recent weeks, with outages lasting anywhere from 20 minutes to almost a day. Even when the site is back online, many customers have not been able to sign into their accounts or have logged in only to find information missing. The disruptions are occurring as Trump's acting Social Security chief and the DOGE team move to lay off large swaths of the workforce. Thousands of Social Security employees have already been pushed out, many in customer-facing roles, others with expertise in the agency's technology systems. The network outages are one cascade of blows to customer service that also have hobbled phone systems and field office operations as the workforce shrinks. The network crashes specifically appear to be caused by an expansion initiated by the Trump team. The Trump technology staff did not test the software against a high volume of users to see if the servers could handle a rush. Connectivity issues and bugs with the expanded system have caused the portal that manages logins and authentication for many Social Security applications to go down. That's the Washington Post. Here's the headline in the New York Times. Quote, just a mess. Staff cuts, rushed changes, and anxiety at Social Security. President Trump promised not to touch Social Security, but as Elon Musk's team trims staff and plans that's doing a lot of work there, trims staff and plans cuts to phone services, the system is groaning under the pressure. And here's the lead. Quote, the line started forming outside the Social Security office in suburban Glendale, Arizona, not long after sunrise. Dozens of retirees and people with disabilities shuffling papers, some leaning on walkers, all anxious to know whether Trump's government overhaul had put their safety nets at risk. When 9 a.m. came, an employee emerged from the building with flyers, asking the crowd to come back once they had scheduled an appointment. One woman yelled, "I've called for days." Another said, "We came from a long ways away." Still another let everyone know they had been handed a load of bunk, though she used a more colorful term. Quote, on April 14th, the Social Security Agency plans to largely phase out phone services for people filing for retirement and survivor benefits or changing their direct deposit information, forcing them to file online or come into the office. Staffing levels at the Social Security Administration were already at 50-year lows, and the departure of so many workers who answered phones and worked field office counters has led to longer lines and phone waits. Teresa Boswell, whose vote for Mr. Trump in November helped flip Arizona, but who found herself fuming outside the Social Security office in Glendale last week, unable to sign up for $1,200 in monthly benefits after she retired from her job processing legal papers, told The Times, quote, I didn't know he was going to pull this. She told The Times, quote, this is a joke. It's not a joke. It's the destruction of one of the core moral and practical functions of the United States government that affects elderly and disabled people who are among the least able to raise a relevant ruckus when things go wrong that hurt them grievously.
I love the petty trolling. I love it. I'm eating it up. I'm a big fan. I'm a big supporter. Let's see more of it. It's fantastic. Chef's kiss. Very beautifully done. Keep it going. Keep it up. I love it. We're going to keep talking about it on this show. And if you want to support that, as always, you can hit that subscribe button. Leave a like on this video. And if you stuck around at the end, you drop a blue heart in the comments. And until next time, I'll see you soon.